How's it going, Venomous? My name is TV and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the legendary set overview for the Dark set. This one was pretty much the set that you guys wanted to see the most, and yeah, this is pretty much it. As you see, we have a close-up view on the screen. It looks very similar to the Nazgul and Vengeance set, except this one obviously has a more purple sort of theme to it. And so yeah, pretty much I've been using this set, and I must say I've been pretty disappointed, but I'll go into that when we do the gear overview. And yeah guys, pretty much the set was, like, it seems to be like a community favorite from what I can tell, but I personally don't think it's that good. Of course, I'm going to be covering my best build and all that sort of stuff, and you'll see in the gameplay how effective it actually is in terms of damage and stuff. So pretty much guys, I have something to say. I'm going to get into the gear overview. Alright guys, so we're going to be doing an in-depth look at the Dark set. Starting things off here, we have the Darkest Sword, a tainted blade designed by the Dark Tribe. Pretty generic description once again, but as you see there, it's doing 172 damage. That is because it's level 81. At max level 80, then you do 169 damage. And the effect on this one is increased poison damage to enemies by 33%. Increases it, so that's pretty cool. And 10 might gain when striking a day's captain. Pretty bad, I must say. Moving on, we have the Darkest Dagger. This is doing 1300 damage, and this also increases poison damage to enemies by 33%, except this time, the quick throw applies poison every 20 seconds. This works quite well, considering the entire theme with this build is to go for poison. And then we have the Darkest Longboat. This is of course a longbow, so therefore it's going to be firing through multiple enemies at once, therefore granting more crowd control. It also does more damage than a regular bow, and it has 13 elf shot, which is of course on the higher end of the spectrum. This also increases poison damage to enemies by 33%. This is poison damage in general, so this also will apply to spiders that you have on your side that you summon in. And of course, this is not like poison damage inflicted by range, this is literally all of your damage. So far we have got an increase of pretty much 100% damage just from these three pieces. And this one has a 50% chance to light an enemy on fire with a headshot. So effectively, you're going to be getting balefire quite a lot using this longbow. Moving on, we have the Darkest Armor. This one's pretty awful. This one gives you, of course, 750 pretty much max health, and 50% chance that enemies are poisoned when they hit you with melee attacks. This is awful considering you're going to get killed in 2 hits on brutal difficulty. So, and you know what, a captain, for example, will kill you instantly. So this is pretty much awful, and of course 250 health recovery is pretty weak. Moving on, we have the Darkest Cloak. We have increased poison damage again, and this one increases our beast damage. So, although the increased poison damage is pretty good, that means we up literally, like, I think it's, well, yeah, literally 133% minus 1, so 132%. Bonus damage from the poison, but of course the beast damage one is not good. But of course, if you love using beasts, then hey, go for it. And then finally, we have the Darkest Rune. Enemies remain poisoned for 90% longer. Very good. And of course, 15%, like 15 focus recovery rather per kill, which is pretty good. So overall, as you see, the set is very poison oriented. And if we have a look at the set bonus here, we have 2 out of 2. Gain 1 might when enemies take damage from your poison. Although this sounds really cool on paper, 1 might is minuscule. Like, it's just not worth it. But the 4 out of 4 bonuses, all attacks have 15% chance to inflict an explosive poison on grunts. This is where a lot of people like the set, because this gives you insane crowd control. You go in, you hit a grunt, bam, he explodes, everyone in the area is now poisoned. I personally don't think that this set is very strong overall. I've been using it quite a bit, and pretty much I was quite hyped up, because a lot of people were telling me that it was their go-to set. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I think it's shit. Like, the moment a captain becomes immune to poison, the build's gone. Like, it's just bad, okay? I just don't really see why people will agree with this sort of build. But hey, it's people's personal opinion. But I will show you the best way to run this if you want to take advantage of that 4 out of 4 set. And so yeah, pretty much the weakest parts of the set are in fact the armor and the cloak. I will say that. However, I will encourage you to swap out the sword and keep the cloak. This is because the secondary effect on the Darkest Sword is worse than the secondary effect on the cloak, and there are so many more available options for the Darkest Sword. So say we swap out, we can actually go on, some of you were recommending I get some of the epic swords, and that's exactly what I've done. As you see here, Venomous Seeker. 55% increased damage to poisoned enemies. How convenient. And critical hits of a 50% chance to poison enemies. I would recommend running Venomous Seeker on this build if you're just running around day to day, because this is infinitely better than the Darkest Sword. However, if you're running sieges, of course you've got to run Humiliator. It's just too invaluable to be able to just cut through captains. What ends up happening is whenever I use a build without Humiliator, the siege takes like 3 times as long, and I'll be fucking honest, the game isn't fun when you don't use Humiliator, because you can't get through a majority of captains. You spend like 7 years trying to kill 3 captains at once, and because you don't have a constant stream of executions, you're having to dodge attacks left, right, and centre. It's just not a viable way to play the game. Whereas when you take Humiliator, you can carve through people instantly, and it's just a lot more fun. But of course, if you want to be running around and you just want to hunt captains, Venomous Seeker is your best bet. So, of course, but in the gameplay, we will be running Humiliator, but this is how I would recommend running Venomous Seeker. The dagger is perfect, the bow is very, very good, the armor is probably pretty much the weakest bet. And so I would recommend swapping this out for the Blackened Servant's armor. This, of course, gives 25% chance to apply poison, or poison curse rather, so that's not too bad. But allied grunts have a 40% chance to resurrect when they die. This is such a special effect, and of course the armor looks absolutely badass. Of course, you can literally run anything you want. I was considering running the blood armor, because of course you get the critical hit lights enemies on fire, so we're gonna get some more balefire, but also the recover 15 health is also quite useful. And then of course you could run the Blackguard armor. It's really up to you what you want to run, but I will be running the Servant's Blackened armor because it is the go-to armor really when you're doing sieges. Your grunts are going to start dying, but then half of them are just going to get back up again. You don't have to waste executions or might or anything to just get them back up again. And so I would run that. And this is pretty much the most viable build to use the Dark set. Of course, the Darkest Rune and Dagger and the bow, of course, are 3 incredibly strong bits of gear, and the cloak is just sort of there. Of course, when you're doing it this way, you're obviously only going to be getting a bonus 99% damage on your poison, whereas you could be getting upwards 160. Or actually, you wouldn't actually, because the only thing you're swapping out is only the actual Venomous Seeker. So actually, you're only losing 30% extra damage on your poison, but you're getting 50 bonus from like your executions and stuff. So I feel like it sort of balances out. Plus, this thing actually applies poison. If you look at all of these pieces of gear, only one of these bits of gear from the Dark set actually apply poison, and that is the dagger. So running Venomous Seeker is very good because your critical hits will be allowing you to use poison effectively. And as a result, of course, we are going to be using Elven Light Poison Blast. Of course, if the actual set applied poison by itself, then of course I would run Cleansing Blaze, so you can get some dope ass balefire. But it doesn't, so I would recommend running Poison Blast. You go in, your first like might or execution or whatever, you use the Poison Blast, you poison everyone, and then you just go in and wreck everyone. And of course, because you're using the actual rune, your actual poison will last much longer, so it will allow you to damage the captains using the extra bonus damage and all that sort of stuff for longer. And of course, you can also take Mighty Shot, causes a poison explosion. I don't really mind this. Really, if you use Mighty Shot on a barrel, you can save your focus by poisoning it using this Venom Shot, and of course, you'll be causing the explosion. So, Balefire explosion without having to cost any focus, so that's pretty good. And so yeah, guys, that is pretty much the build. Of course, we are going to be running, as I said before, spiders, because your poison damage actually affects the spiders. Which is pretty cool, because although the spiders are the ones applying the poison, it's considered your poison effectively, and so the damage that they'll take from that poison will be, of course, increased. And as I said, guys, that is the build that we're going to be using in the gameplay. Overall, I don't think this set is very, very strong, but of course, this was the one that was recommended to use the most, and so here it is. Of course, as you see there on the right there, we are very, very close to getting all the sets. And so yeah, hopefully after I've done this sort of sub-series, I'll get a video out where I talk about the best ones and sort of rank them. But hey guys, have a lot of fun in the siege, and I'll speak to you in a bit.
I've been pining away in here thinking, when will the pink skin come and dance with me? Let's dance! I can't wait to bring your little army to Rune! So many bodies to play with after you're all dead. So many possibilities for fun and pleasure.
I've had enough of this. Anybody can steal a chest of gold or a crate of weapons. Let's show this lot how you take a whole bloody fort.
Who do you think you are, Northman? This fort belongs to the Dark Lord.
He's killed the commander! Get him! Push him back! What are you doing now?
Remember what I did, cowards?
You'll never take our fort!
Your suffering will be sweet delight.
Stop, Kaz! Hit him in his weak spot! Remember who killed you!
You do not get to Overlord. He throws best feast in Mordor. I die to protect.
Siege attack incoming! Eyes up, siege!
Today, we shall be anointed in your blood and pain. You know the best part of the hunt, the beginning, when anything is possible. Unfortunately for you, this is the end, and only one possibility exists. My curses will suck them very essence out of you.
Nice.
Welcome to my throne room, or as I like to call it, your personal torture chamber.
Soon it will be known only as your grave.
The gains made by the Lord of Mordor are small and fleeting. We are the power in Mordor, and we are forever!
Alright guys, that was the siege. As you saw there in the gameplay, we were using a lot of poison there, but it was taking quite a bit of time to kill captains. Only one captain was actually vulnerable to the Balefire combination, which is very disappointing. And of course, a lot of the enemies were actually enraged by the poison. And so pretty much this build, it kind of ended up hurting me more than it was useful. Like, the actual, like, explosion on grunts came up maybe once or twice in the gameplay, and overall, I just think the damage on this build just isn't that effective. Even when I was using, I actually used Venomous Seeker for a little bit inside the actual siege, and the damage difference wasn't that significant, so I switched back to Humiliated to speed up the gameplay. But, like, overall, I don't really understand why everyone thinks this set is so good. I'm personally not going to use this set ever again. I think it's atrocious. Of course, it's just the fact that it's just like the Bright Lord set, where it heavily relies on frost damage, or pretty much just an element, a single element, and so therefore once a captain becomes immune to it or counterattacks that sort of attack, counterattacks that element rather, using like a hatred or something, then the build just gets shut down immediately. I can't really find, although I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for shitting on this armor, I just think it's absolute trash. I honestly do not like this set. But anyway guys, as I said, I'm going to be doing a video where I'm going to sort of cover my overall feelings of all of the sets, compile it into one sort of big video. But yeah guys, pretty much that's all I need to say. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all the other fancy stuff. Have a wonderful day. Cue the music.